Hi friends, this is your pal Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Professor Dungeon Master's fantastic video, which got into specifically, which covered the sales of every single player's handbook since 1E. So he had estimates for 1E, 2E, 3E, 4E, and 5E. Okay. Today we're going to talk about 2E. We're going to talk about 2E, AD&D. All right. So 2E, and that is synonymous with 2E. Right. So we're going to talk about the 2E Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Player's Handbook. Okay. A D&D canon hardcover. Okay. Now, and we're going to talk about Professor Dungeon Master's estimate. So first of all, let's talk about that book itself. Okay. So first of all, it's very important to understand what this book was. So first of all, this came out in 1989, and this is Williams Dungeons and Dragons. Lorraine Williams is 100% responsible for this book. And at this point, Gary Gygax is gone. He's donezo, okay? He is no longer, he has quit his job. He was never fired. He has quit his job at TSR and severed himself forever from Dungeons and Dragons, okay? He chose to do that himself. Nobody forced him to do that. That's extremely important to understand this. So this is Williams. So this PHB is the Lorraine Williams Player's Handbook, okay? And its sales number, and to be clear, Lorraine built this thing, this second edition AD&D, to cut out Gary Gygax, which is wild because Gary Gygax made 1E Player's Handbook to cut out Arneson, right? So 1E and 2E are complete, utter nonsense. These are absolutely useless, arbitrary distinctions. There's and I'm amazed that we in the Dungeons & Dragons community even acknowledge this, right? Because it should have just stayed basic D&D, right? And they should have kept Gygax's name on it, and they should have kept Arneson's name on it. But there was there's a strong desire to use these additions to cut people out, right? And none of it was successful, right? Like, the people, Gary Gygax and Arneson's name are still on D&D to this very day, right? Okay, this 2E AD&D, second edition AD&D Player's Handbook sold 750,000 copies, okay? And that is a fascinating number. So let's get into it. So what does that mean? What does it mean that 750,000 copies were sold, right? Well, first of all, that is the fourth most successful of all of the editions. It's literally out of 5 editions, it was the second to last best performing. It's pretty garbage, actually. It's really pretty bad, right? So 700, but so Dungeons and Dragons second to worst failure is massively outperforms the vast majority. I'm not sure any Player's Handbook, I'm not sure any core rule book for any tabletop role-playing game has ever surpassed even 500,000, right? We don't know. These numbers are highly hidden by all companies, and rightly so, because we as the D&D community and the TTRPG community, what do we do with data? We use it as a dagger to stab these companies with. It's pretty terrible. Generally. So that's one of the reasons why they hide this data, right? And increasingly, companies aren't giving their communities any data, right? Because they know the communities will just simply craft them as attack weapons, which is pretty sad. So this estimate of 750,000, I think it's absolutely accurate and correct. And I have owned 2 copies of this book in my life. I owned it during those years. I had my first copy. It was, long ago, lost in moves and things like that. And then I recollected the second edition, and these were like the really black covers with the square, and there was like a kind of a square that had the picture on it. These were excellent books. They were extremely well done, but this was the second worst performing of all the books. Every single word you just heard in this video is my humble opinion, nothing more, nothing less. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments and send your traffic, please consider liking and subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.